Hey, Crushable friends. Today we're going to chat with Laura, sort of her summation about the end of the year, what she saw, what she's excited about, what she's not super excited about leading into 2020. My name is Sean Corbett. I'm one of the partners in Crushable, and here's Laura.
Hey, everybody. Merry Christmas. What else do I say? Season's greetings, happy holidays, whatever denomination you happen to celebrate. Hope it's a good one.
Sweet. Let's jump into it. What are some of your wine epiphanies of 2019?
I think 2019 was a huge year for me, wine-wise, because, I moved across the country. I began my foray into Niagara and Prince Edward County. I went to Slovenia and northern Italy. I was able to meet a ton of winemakers and other pretty prolific wine personalities that are well-known globally. And if anything, it just reaffirmed that notion of humility. Like, the more that I know, the less that I know. And I really went down this rabbit hole of natural wine, but the farther I went down it, more I realized it can be incredibly elitist and very dogmatic. And so it's this constant sort of balance and riding that line of, you can enjoy both styles, and it just always comes back inevitably to honesty and transparency. So did I have a ton of big epiphanies? Not necessarily. Well, maybe a little bit. Like Slovenia was just blew my mind, and it really sort of affirmed that wine is really about the people and the people that make it, and in often cases it tastes like the people who make it. So I tell these stories all the time when I'm doing these tastings that, if the winemaker is particularly jovial or playful or fun, inevitably that's what their wines taste like. Or if they're brooding or poetic and more quiet, that's their wines are like that as well. So I just implore people to sort of open their minds a little bit and think about it in a greater capacity or with a little bit more substance or depth.
Yeah, if you were sending out a Canadian to go try a couple Slovenia wines, what are some that are available right now in Canada and they're not going to totally crush your pocketbook?
Yeah, there are a couple. I believe that you can get anything from Janko Steckar. I don't know if they're available in BC. Again, this is going to have to come down to you doing your own research, because these producers are literally making bottles in the thousands. Like, they're making such minute amounts. Marco Fon, Fon, is another one that this man just like blew me away. And then another one, it's called Organic Anarchy, and the winemaker's name is Asi Urbais. It's Urbajs. As far as the other ones, nothing's really coming to mind. Oh, and probably Gordia, Giordia. He's really great at making pet nat, really just that fresh, vibrant, like juicy bubbles. So those are some that kind of come to mind. Otherwise, the other ones, I don't know. And then, of course, like right across the border in northern Italy, in Friuli is Racon, and Grosvenor, probably the most famous natural and orange winemakers in the entire world. So definitely get your hands on some of that stuff. It'll cost you, but it'll probably literally change your life, and you'll never go back to drinking the swill that you find on the bottom shelf for $6.99. So
okay, gauntlet's run down. So coming back to Canadian wine, what are some of the best QPRs for boutique Canadian wines that you find right now? And I don't know are you familiar with that phrase, QPR?
Quality. What does that stand for?
Quality price ratio. Yeah, so it's you can't say it's a great wine, but it's $1,000. There's got to be some balance in there.
From Canada?
From Canada, yeah, best QPRs.
I would say probably Lightning Rock. I'm actually expecting some wine from them any day now, and I'm super excited because their wines are just so lovely and so well made, and also they're just a wonderful family. I'm super excited about Trail, which is a winery in Prince Edward County. I think
you're saying all the SKUs from these two wineries, or any particular SKUs jump out at you?
I would say they're both making really excellent sparkling wines. And then also Trail is doing some really cool skin contact stuff with Riesling and Gewürztraminer. Another really phenomenal value that you should definitely look for is Rosewood from Niagara-on-the-Lake. I think they just released a Riesling that's $15 on the shelf, and I had the opportunity to go there in the fall, and they've just hired this great, young, super ambitious, but very humble winemaker named Ryan Corrigan, and he's really doing some fun stuff. And they're also experimenting with mead and where else? Just some other places that I'm excited about, like Leaning Coast from Niagara, Hidden Bench. These guys are doing like really cool Pinot Noir, some Riesling. I mean, they're all doing like orange wine as well. Thomas Batchelder, I don't know that he would fall in the bang for your buck camp, but I mean, if you want like probably some of the best Canadian Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, like he's your guy. Those are the only two varieties that he works with, and he does them. Oh, and he's making a little bit of Gamay too, but yeah, his wines are just mind-boggling, delicious.
What is the rough entry-level price for one of his Pinots or Chards?
I think you can get some of his stuff for like sub 30. Like I want to say you can get some Chards for like $25, and it's just like so fucking delicious. And he's also just, Thomas is just like hilarious. Like he calls his wine cellar the Bat Cave because he never knows at any point where he might be hair straight back having to just like bolt and like head somewhere with no rhyme or reason. Like he's just like a mad scientist. And that's why it's so fun to kind of like delve a little bit deeper into the industry, and you get to like meet the people, because I think my experience is very consistent with many other people who, once you kind of like pull back the curtains and you get to know the people, you're like, oh, this is not what I expected at all. Like these people are sort of just complete hippies, and they somehow just make this really beautiful juice like by happenstance sometimes. So, and then I mean, of course, like Benjamin Bridge from Nova Scotia, and then Quebec. Like I get asked quite a bit, like in these tastings that I do, more from like tourists who are international. They're like, what are some like really crazy regions that we wouldn't even have realized make wine? And I often say Nova Scotia and Quebec, Les Pervenches, Pinard des Fils, like the fact that they can even make wine there, it just, you know, showcases their talent. So yeah, that's a good list I think to start with.
Okay, and those wines
if you can find this stuff.
Well, so these are reasonably priced wines, the ones on the East Coast? Or on the East?
Oh, yeah. It's be in like that 25 to 40 range.
Yeah. Okay. I think Canada can deliver a lot of value in that range, or let's say 25 to 60. We're doing
exactly.
pretty good stuff in that range. So that actually leads perfectly into my next question, which is that I know you pour for a lot of visitors, and I think you said it was mostly Americans, but some Europeans as well. Is that right?
Yeah.
So do you have funny stories about their reactions or their preconceptions about Canadian wine?
Most of the people who come here and seek out my services either don't know that Canada makes wine, or they think we only make ice wine. So it's like I get to burst their bubble and be like, well, let me show you what's happening here. So everyone inherently leaves really excited, but also disappointed that they can't
Did you get the ice wine?
Yeah, they can't find it. I mean, maybe they could smuggle a couple of bottles back through their suitcase, but it's also given me an opportunity to help promote another friend's business in San Francisco. She's only importing Canadian wine, so her and I work together. And I often direct my American guests to her if they want to, you know, then go home and, you know, have some wine delivered to their door, which I think is really cool, because it's nice that she's being an ambassador for Canadian wine in a place that's even farther behind in terms of awareness with respect to what Canada is doing. So,
have you poured anything that's really knocked somebody's socks off to the point where they're going crazy about it by the end of the tasting lately?
Oh yeah, all the time. Every now and then I find little gems here and there. Like, I mean, because obviously I'm in Toronto, so if I'm not getting wine sent to me, I've got to go seek out some stuff at the LCBO, which can be challenging and frustrating. But I was actually able to find a bottle of Moraine 2016 Pinot Noir randomly in like a discount bin, which I was super excited about. And that knocked people's socks off. They were like, what? Like, this is from the Naramata bench. Like, I don't even know where the hell that is.
That was a good value too, by the way. I don't know.
Yeah,
I remember that. Like, that was
so excited. It had been years since I tasted it, and I was like, damn, like that. Okay, that they're definitely doing it right. Although I think the winemakers have since changed since then. But anyways, definitely the Grange stuff. Like when I'm talking about, okay, these are the differences between natural wine and conventional wine. This is the spectrum. And this is why they're going to taste different. A lot of people, I find younger people, like more in that millennial kind of category, who are really open-minded and have a little bit of education, and they're not sort of thrown off if the wine's a little bit hazy or funky or something.
The Grange ones, were those the almanacs that were
in
our pack? Yeah, those are good ones to kind of ease people into Canadian wine, right?
Yeah, and like the value is just bonkers. Like I can easily get those, and like and it was actually a friend of mine who recommended those to me. She was like, "Oh, you're doing a lot of tastings, like you should try these. Like they're sub $20 for both red and white. Like they're killing it with that category." But I just don't think enough people are aware of how special those wines are, because most people go to the liquor store and they'll buy what's familiar to them, right? So
yeah, and you're not trying to browbeat people into trying the most complex, age-worthy, incredible Canadian wine right off the bat either. It's kind of a no pressure, like, hey, look, we make fairly reasonably priced, delicious young stuff as well as good mid-tier wine.
Yeah, exactly, and it's also unbelievably delicious with food. Like that's what we enjoyed the almanacs with Thanksgiving dinner with my family, and everybody loved it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So the word crushable, obviously that's what you named the whole enterprise. It generally means that wines are easy and enjoyable to drink. It might also suggest uncomplicated, but I don't really think that's what you had in mind. But could you talk a bit about why you chose that name, and maybe some ways that it ties into low intervention or traditional farming methods, all these things that you're really passionate about?
I've been using that term for years. Like we're going back into 2014, 2015, 2016, when I was like working in wineries and romancing the wines, and inevitably you'd get like a boring text sheet, and it's like I've never been one to sort of follow the rules, and everybody's had that experience where they go into a tasting room and it's like, and you're going to get hints of strawberries and cherries, and it's a great patio sipper. Like you hear that robotic phrase over and over and over again, and so I like to have a little bit more fun and be a little bit more whimsical in my romancing of the wines, and so I just started saying crushable all the time. And yeah, it kind of alludes to wines that you can smash back. But it's also wines that you can't like peel yourself away from. Like they just keep inviting you back, and before you know it, the whole bottle is gone. And yeah, it's a little bit synonymous with like this sort of whole like vin de soif, quenching like glue sort of style, but it also can mean like the opposite end of the spectrum. Like I said, it can, if a wine's really complex and with every sip it tastes completely different, that can be crushable too, because the bottle will be gone in a matter of like half an hour between two friends or three or whatever, what have you. But we have to be careful to not go too far down that path, because I started to notice that that's kind of what my palate was veering towards, like low alcohol, high acid, just predominantly like primary aromas and flavors. And a friend of mine pointed that out to me about a month ago. He's like, you're drinking a lot of like glue shit, hey? Like you can't forget like the foundation. Like sometimes it's good to go back to basics. So it can be applied to any style of wine, really. It's just meant to just drink delicious wine that you want to smash back. So it's a little bit crass, but it's meant to be like wine doesn't have to be snobby, and like everybody says that, and that's such a redundant notion, but that's really what we want to make it approachable and be like, here's some really cool wines that you probably would have been scared to try otherwise. So,
well, not me, I'm gonna be snobby, but if they can get over our
no, you're never snobby,
then they're gonna get rewarded with the great wine, right? So there's a benefit in it there. Yeah. Okay, so we have a big year coming up. We had an awesome year. We had a lot of cool producers that we're really happy to feature, but we also have a lot of really cool stuff in the making for 2020. So I was hoping to get you, I don't want you to give away too much, but do you want to talk about a few of the producers that we sort of have on deck for the first couple months?
Yeah, definitely one of the producers that we had the opportunity to visit with when I was in town in November is Synchromesh. I mean, like these guys are kind of like the gods in the Okanagan, and probably I would say nationally, if not internationally, they're killing it. So I was extremely honored that they even set aside as much time as they did. I'm obsessed with Scout from Smokeamine. I think they're making some of the most interesting wines to have come out of BC as of late. And there's also a really cool producer making some vermouth at their cellar. So I'm considering maybe throwing something in there as like a special little treat for like a fun little mixed pack. There's a really cool young and up-and-coming winemaker working down in Oliver. And he's got some cool side projects, sort of like side hustle stuff. And his name is Jake Acorn, and I really would love to maybe throw some of his stuff together. Keenan Truffle, I think everything that he does is just phenomenal. So we've been chatting. And yeah, just sort of like venturing into Quebec. I think I need to plan a little road trip and go out and meet some of these people. I've been emailing with a handful of them, some of the other producers that I mentioned already. Just really cool stuff with hybrids. And then, yeah, I'd love to get maybe like some bubbles from Benjamin Bridge in Nova Scotia in the hands of people out west. They did a really fun pet night in a can this past summer, and it was like the summer drink of like every hipster in Toronto. So it would be really fun to kind of like do something unusual like that and see it land on doorsteps in Vancouver and just get this really sort of like national ambassadorship that's, I think, long overdue. So, and then many, many, many others that I haven't listed. So
I think we have another county winery coming up pretty soon as well, right?
Yes, the next feature will be another winery from Prince Edward County called Trail. And I just think that their winemaker, Mackenzie Brisebois, is just so talented. They're really unique in that almost all of their fruit actually comes from the county. So this is sort of a little bit of controversy for a lot of the wineries that are there, of which I think there's only about 40, but a lot of them just sort of bring fruit in from Niagara. So it's not even really an expression of county terroir. So they're working really hard to actually source most of their fruit locally, which is great. And I just, their wines are so good. They're just razor sharp. Like they're so zippy and they'll just, burn the enamel off of your teeth. But I mean, these wines will last forever. They sent me some of their, they called it Carbo Goo. It's like a sparkling Gewürztraminer. And it was, I don't even remember what my tasting note was, but it was some, obnoxious, like douchebag tasting note. But it was one of those wines that just like got me thinking. And between my boyfriend and I, we smashed it in 25 minutes. So yeah.
Dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. That would be great.
Yeah.
Well, to sort of sum everything up, and I think you'll agree when you go around and then when you were visiting and we went around, we've interacted with, we've met a lot of super generous, really, really knowledgeable people in the industry. And I wondered if you wanted to give any shout outs at the end of the year. It doesn't have to be necessarily a winemaker. It could even be, like you said, people on the marketing side or distributors or whatever, but you want to give any sort of props or shout outs to anybody that just made your 2019 wine year a little bit better?
It's funny that you asked that, and I'm glad that you did. I want to give a shout out to Jake. So he's actually originally from Ontario, and he's making wine, like I said, in Oliver now. And we've never actually had the opportunity to meet before. We just have a relationship via Instagram, and man, he has become a point of almost like an advisor for me. Like, hey, what do you think about this? Have you tried this wine? Or like, oh, can you put some eyes on this article for me? Another person I would say is Sebastian Ott from Rico Bambino.
Yep.
I chat with him probably almost daily, and he's been a big supporter of ours. Oh God, there's so many people. Like my friends make fun of me who are like non-wine industry. They're like, do you have any non-wine friends? And it's like, I don't know, when you get this entrenched in the industry, you kind of just want to have people that are like-minded, right? There's so many people like Kelsey Rufiange being like, so easy to work with and so lovely and kind and taking a chance on us.
Yeah,
with our first kind of venture into this business. Maggie Granger, I think, is lovely. I met her through a friend of mine, Kat Nyman, and she's just was so lovely. I don't know, the list can go on. It's just endless. It's just, this industry is just full of so many wonderful people.
No, for sure. And real quick to end it, if you're, give me one or two places for each city. If you're in Vancouver or if you're in Toronto, where are you going drinking? What wine bars do you want to recommend people hit up?
In Toronto or Vancouver, or both?
Both.
This is kind of a, I don't want to say like conventional, but like I love going to Provence in Yaletown in Vancouver. Their list is freaking massive, and you can go and try any style that you want. And my partner and I do that anytime we're in Vancouver. We'll sit down and just play our nerdy little wine games where we order glasses of wine for each other and try and blind one another. It's just really good practice especially if you're studying. But there's so many cool places in Vancouver to go. Who did I feature? I think Stable House. So that's run by Matt Landry. He was BC's Top Song of 2019, and he's always just seeking out new and interesting styles and maintaining a really great balance between like natural and conventional. Those would probably be some of the ones that I would likely visit if I were to be in town. Where else is good? Where else do I go when I'm in Vancouver? I haven't been to Vancouver in a while. I'm not going to be there until the new year. But and then Toronto, the list is like literally bloody endless. But I would have to say the couple that come to mind immediately. There's a place probably like 15 minutes east of me in Leslieville called Winona. It's more of a restaurant, but they have just such a great low intervention list. And I was there recently where I had some skin contact Chenin Blanc from South Africa with some squid ink pasta, and it just like blew my mind. It was amazing. And then the last place that really, really impressed me, it's a little tiny wine bar that just opened about 4 months ago called Little Jerry, and they only play vinyl. And the wine list is always rotating, but it's, generally like organic, minimal intervention, and the food's impeccable, and like just, hand carved like woodwork. It's just, there is no detail that is missed. That would be probably the couple places that I would suggest to people. And then this isn't a wine bar, but if you ever find yourself in Toronto, there's a tiny little dive bar called Communist Daughter at Ossington and Dundas, and every Sunday they have live jazz between 4 and 7 p.m. It might seat like 15 people comfortably, like it's tiny. And you walk in and you almost feel like you've walked into like a Woody Allen film, because the bartender, he's, tending drinks and serving people, and then all of a sudden he'll just erupt into song, or then he'll pick up a trumpet and like just jump right in with the band. Like it's just, I've probably been 3 or 4 times, and I always take friends who are here visiting because it's so cool. Like I've never experienced anything like it. So, yeah.
A pretty good list. Well, that's awesome. I appreciate you taking the time. Is there anything else you want to say to the Crushable folks before we sign this off?
Just a huge, like massive thank you to everybody. It's always terrifying starting a new business, and it can feel, there are some dark days where, you wonder why you do what you do. So I'm very appreciative of the people that have continued to support us and ordered the packs. And I hope that you keep believing in us going forward in the new year. So thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks everybody. And we'll catch you next time.